In this video, we're going to browse the jazz music library within the Music Online database, which you can access through the Lincoln City Library's website, courtesy of the Poly Music Library. If you need help getting into the library online resources, check out the first video in this series for some general information on the Music Online databases. But briefly, from the main Lincoln City Library site, lincolnlibraries.org, you can choose the Resources tab and then Online Resources, then Access from outside the library. I'm going to have to choose Inside as I'm recording this inside. You'll need to enter your library card number and then your PIN number that you use for other online library resources like placing holds. Go down to the Arts, Music, and Entertainment Resources section, and you can head into the Jazz Music Library. Let's look over the search options. They're pretty similar to the other sections in that we have a main search bar where you can enter any terms you like, or we can click on the advanced search area just to the right of the search bar for more options. Like the other areas, if you see Select Terms as an option to the right of the advanced search categories, clicking on that will provide you a list of the successful search terms for that category. And like other sections, using these to their fullest requires thinking a bit about the kinds of music you're looking at. In the case of jazz music, a great place to start that we didn't look at much in other genres is the composition section. Simply because many classic jazz recordings that we'll find here revolve around different performances of compositions that became jazz standards. So let's stop and look at Round Midnight as an example, a great old Thelonious Monk tune. If we add that term and then search, it looks like we get about 80 results here. And indeed, there are a few takes by all kinds of different artists, from heavy hitters like Miles Davis, and I think Ella Fitzgerald will be in here, a great piano trio arrangement with the legendary Bill Evans at the keys, Chick Corea takes it on, etc. Just hearing how a piece like this gets handled by different artists over the decades is a phenomenal experience, and it's especially easy to put together a comparative playlist of particular standards using this jazz music library. This would be kind of difficult to do if you had just a bunch of CDs and had to keep switching around. Here we have Ella Fitzgerald. So let's take a look at the instrument section. So we'll find that this is quite robust in a way pretty similar to the contemporary world music section that we looked at in the last video. Here we're going to find lots of chordophones, as they say in here, pianos and guitars and variants on those. And some of these are kind of fun to look at, to hear instruments that were used more often in the early days of jazz. So here we have fiddles, guitars, all kinds of different guitars, keyboards, etc. So let's head back up to, how about we check out banjo? If we look at the banjo in jazz, which was fairly popular in the really early days of jazz before mellower guitar sounds took over, let's see what we find. So here we have some pretty interesting results to look at. Banjo time, lots of popular songs. Lots of folks kind of focusing on early jazz styles. So there's a lot to check out there. So now let's go check out the genre section. So under the general topic of jazz, which we can click on here and expand, we can see that there's lots of subcategories of jazz represented here, from early Dixieland sounds to free jazz, avant-garde, even new flavors like post-bop, smooth jazz, and modern jazz. I'm a pretty big fan of free jazz, so let's check that out here and see what we find. We've got a pretty respectable number of results here. We start off with a couple Cecil Taylor albums that are pretty good. Then we have a few newer people like Brad Dutz and Han Bennick. We even have some Coltrane here. I think I saw we had some Anthony Braxton back above here. There's some Anthony Braxton, followed by Coltrane there. So there's clearly some good music to be found here, even in a genre that's relatively obscure within jazz. Going back to the genre section, there's also lots of vocal jazz to be found here, right up at the top. If we go into the composer section once we get in here to further refine our search, we can find some classic recordings of essential American jazz folks, as well as some international strains of jazz, like we'll find Jobim in here, some essential Nina Simone recordings. So as you can see, quite a few well-known jazz composers here. As we scroll down, we can find a wide variety of jazz composers, Billy Strayhorn there. But let's go ahead and check out Nina Simone, just to see what kinds of examples we find here. She'll be just above Jobim there. So we'll hit include and update, and that will further refine the search that we have within Vocal Jazz. So here we have some newer recordings, including even Queen Latifah doing I Want a Little Sugar in My Bowl. Then we have a nice compilation, The Best of Nina Simone, 20th Century Masters, a couple essential albums of hers, The High Priestess of Soul. So there's a lot to find here for sure. That's a quick overview, anyway, of the Jazz Music Library within the Music Online database. If you have any questions, you can contact the Poly Music Library by emailing me at polley, P-O-L-L-E-Y, at lincolnlibraries.org, or you can call the Poly Music Library at 402-441-8520.